Welcome to You Brew Kombucha. This is your guide to picking a good brewing vessel for first fermentation. When I'm fermenting my kombucha, during that first fermentation phase, I really prefer to use 1-gallon glass jars, only because they're really affordable, they're easy to find, and they're easy to clean. I prefer to brew in small batches only because it gives me more control over the final taste and flavor of my first fermented kombucha. But some people also like to brew in larger jars or even ceramic crocks that hold more liquid. If that works for you, that's perfectly fine. I find that the larger the vessel, the longer it takes for the kombucha to fully ferment, and I like to ferment on a week to a week and a half brewing cycle, so the 1-gallon jars really work best for me. Obviously, glass works really well. Some people like to use ceramic, and that works fine as long as it's food grade. Don't use plastic or metal because it could leach into the kombucha over time. The one exception to that would be food grade stainless steel. If you have a stainless steel vessel that you use for brewing kombucha, that's totally fine as well. Remember, kombucha is an acidic drink, so you want to make sure to use a vessel that isn't going to corrode over time and that isn't going to react with that acid. Regardless of what type of vessel you end up using, just make sure that it's something that you can easily cover. You can cover your kombucha vessels with pretty much anything that's breathable, but has a fine enough weave to keep any dust or insect out of your brewing vessel. Some people like to use coffee filters. I actually just used an old cut-up shirt to make this kombucha cover. You can use really fine weave cheesecloth. Just make sure that you're not using cheesecloth that has a loose weave where insects might be able to kind of like burrow in there and get into your kombucha brew, because you really don't want those insects laying eggs into your scoby. And just another note about materials coming into contact with your scoby. I know I talked a lot about how you shouldn't use metal or plastic as your brewing vessel. And that's really only because your kombucha is going to be fermenting in that brewing vessel for an extended period of time. If plastic comes into contact with your scoby, say you're using a spoon or a spatula to stir your brew vessel around, or if you use a plastic bag to store your scoby temporarily, if you're sharing it with a friend or something like that, that's perfectly fine, just for small amounts of time. I would just say make sure that your scoby doesn't sit in a plastic container for longer than around a day or so. But any shorter than that and it's totally fine. And it's important to note that if your kombucha or your scoby does come into contact with plastic, just make sure that it doesn't have any scratches on it. Food grade plastic often has a BPA coating, but if that plastic is scratched, that coating won't be present in the scratch itself. So that uncoated plastic could leach into your kombucha. So if you want more information, make sure you check out the other videos on my channel, and you can also go to youbrewkombucha.com. Happy brewing!